I wasn't welcomed at my brother's military ceremony until my rank silenced the room. You have to understand, I walked into that room, a decorated major in my own right, and the absolute disdain radiating from my own family, especially my brother, was a physical thing, like a blast of cold air. They tried to erase me, to pretend I wasn't even there, all because of a stupid years-old feud. But I promise you, the moment I had to step forward, the moment the reality of my uniform, my rank, and my very presence hit them, the silence wasn't just quiet. It was a gaping, horrified vacuum. It was the most satisfying yet heartbreaking moment of my life, seeing the smugness drain from their faces and be replaced by utter shock as they realized I wasn't just the black sheep cousin, I was their superior. The question I keep asking myself, even now, is, was I wrong to use my military status, my literal position of authority, to force my own family to respect me, or at least acknowledge my existence, after they had tried so hard to shut me out? Tell me honestly if you would have done the same thing. To really understand the weight of that silence, you have to go back about 10 years. My brother, let's call him Alex, and we weren't always rivals. We were close as kids, 2 years apart, sharing a room, whispering secrets under the covers. But things changed dramatically when we hit high school. Alex was the golden boy, athletic, popular, charismatic, and everyone's favorite, especially our parents. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, studious one, already planning my future, which involved joining the military immediately after graduation. Our parents, bless their hearts, were traditional, and their idea of success was a stable, civilian career. They saw my military ambition not as patriotism or a career path, but as a temporary detour, a childish phase. Alex, always eager to please, amplified their anxieties, constantly making subtle, dismissive jokes about my solider fantasy. The rift started small, a few barbed comments here and there, but it widened into a chasm when I got my acceptance letter to the military academy. My parents were openly disappointed. Alex, surprisingly, seemed almost jealous, but he masked it with more derision. "Enjoy polishing boots, little sister," he'd sneer, completely ignoring the rigorous entrance requirements and the opportunity it represented. I was 18, ready to embark on a demanding career, and the last words I truly heard from my brother before I left were those petty, condescending ones. I left for the academy and essentially cut all ties. It wasn't spite, it was self-preservation. I needed to focus entirely on my training, which was brutal and all-consuming. I threw myself into it. The physical strain, the academic rigor, the leadership challenges. While I was focused on becoming the best officer I could be, Alex went to a state university, majored in something vague, and generally coasted, relying on mom and dad to pay his rent and bail him out of minor crises. Years passed. We exchanged polite, distant holiday cards, but that was it. I climbed the ranks steadily, completing my initial commitment, then re-upping. I earned my commission, then my captaincy, serving in several critical, high-stress assignments that shaped me into the professional I am today. My life became defined by discipline, duty, and leadership. Alex's life, from the snippets I heard from my mother during their rare, strained phone calls to me, was defined by a series of career hops and a general lack of direction. Then, about 4 years ago, something truly bizarre happened. Alex joined the military too. He didn't join as an officer, he enlisted. My mother framed it as a sudden desire for structure, but I suspected he was just looking for a steady paycheck and a way to finally get our parents off his back. I tried to reach out when I heard the news, a genuine olive branch, thinking maybe this shared experience could finally bridge the gap. I sent him a thoughtful email, wishing him luck and offering any advice he might need. His reply was one sentence: "Don't bother, Major, I'll figure it out myself." He even used my rank sarcastically, as if it were a joke. That stung, but I let it go. I had my own career to manage, and I wasn't going to let his petty jealousy derail me. I was promoted to major a year ago, an accomplishment I was incredibly proud of, and it wasn't easy to achieve. My life was finally stabilizing. I had a posting near a major base and was excelling in my specialty. Then came the invitation. It was a formal, embossed card from my parents, announcing Alex's promotion ceremony to sergeant. They were so proud. The card, however, was addressed simply to family member, and it felt less like a warm invitation and more like a reluctant obligation. The ceremony was scheduled for the following Saturday, and I decided, against my better judgment, that I should go. I didn't go for Alex, not really. I went for my parents, who had been pushing for a reunion, and I went for myself, to prove I was better than the pettiness. I made the long drive to the base, meticulously ensuring my class a uniform was perfect, creases sharp, medals polished, and my rank insignia gleaming. I knew what I looked like: a professional, an officer, a major. I arrived at the hall and immediately felt the familiar, heavy blanket of exclusion. My parents saw me first, and their faces didn't light up with pride. They registered a fleeting moment of surprise, quickly replaced by a kind of tense discomfort. My mother rushed over, giving me a quick, almost secretive hug. "Oh, honey, you made it," she whispered, looking over my shoulder nervously. My father just gave me a stiff nod. The seating was already arranged. My parents, Alex's new fiancé, and a couple of his civilian friends occupied the front row. There was an empty seat at the end of the second row, clearly an afterthought. I walked over and took my place, feeling every eye on me. No one came to talk to me. Alex, the man of the hour, was mingling up front, laughing loudly. He glanced back, saw me, and his smile vanished, replaced by a look of sheer annoyance. He didn't come over. He didn't even acknowledge me with a wave. It was as if I were a ghost. The worst part was listening to my mother gush to everyone within earshot about Alex's journey, Alex's dedication, Alex's natural leadership. I heard her mention his enlistment was so selfless and a true calling. Not once did she mention my 10 years of service, my advanced schooling, or my major rank. I was simply the awkward, uninvited relative in the corner. I sat there, stewing, feeling the heat rise on my neck. My mind was screaming, I've been doing this for a decade. I'm an officer, he's a brand. New sergeant. Do you not see the difference? But I held my tongue. I was here to be the bigger person. I was here to be respectful of his day. The ceremony began. The commanding officer, a tall, imposing colonel, stepped up to the podium and began his remarks. He spoke about the importance of NCO, the backbone of the military, and the honor of achieving the rank of sergeant. He then called Alex forward. As Alex stood there, beaming, the colonel read his commendation and pinned on his new chevrons. The room applauded politely. Then the colonel paused, looked at his notes, and then out over the audience. He cleared his throat. "Now," he announced, his voice carrying clearly, in accordance with tradition and the wishes of the soldier, "we have a formality to complete. It is customary for any commissioned officer who may be present to render the first official salute to the newly promoted NCO, symbolizing the chain of command and the respect between the different ranks." My blood ran cold. I knew instantly what was coming. I was the only commissioned officer in the room. I looked at Alex, who was momentarily confused, then looked directly at me. His face contorted, first with dawning realization, then with a wave of absolute horror. He knew too. He knew that for his promotion to be formally recognized, he would have to receive a salute from me, Major, his older sister, whom he had spent a decade dismissing. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I could have stayed seated, pretended I didn't hear, and let the colonel figure out a clumsy way to avoid the custom, sparing Alex his humiliation and sparing myself the confrontation. Or I could stand up and force the moment he had tried so hard to deny. I could make him, and my entire family, acknowledge the reality of my achievement and my standing. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it go, or would you have risen to the occasion and claimed the respect you were due? The colonel, seeing no one rise, and clearly knowing I was there from the roster, looked straight at me, a silent, official question in his eyes. He didn't know the drama, of course, but he knew protocol. I took a deep breath, the noise of it loud in my own ears. I slowly, deliberately stood up. The scraping of my chair against the floor seemed deafening. Every single eye in that room, my mother's panicked, my father's stunned, Alex's mortified, and the dozens of strangers curious, was locked on me. I felt the weight of my uniform, the years of service it represented. I walked forward, my polished boots clicking perfectly on the marble floor. I didn't rush, I didn't gloat. I simply walked with the confidence of an officer who knew her place. I stopped directly in front of my little brother, Sergeant Alex. He was standing rigidly at attention, his eyes wide and fixed just over my left shoulder. The room was absolutely, unnervingly silent. I could hear the colonel take a small, sharp intake of breath. This was it, the moment of truth. I looked him straight in the eye, and for the first time in 10 years, he looked back at me without a trace of mockery or condescension. Just fear, and maybe, just maybe, a sliver of respect. I raised my right hand to my eyebrow, a sharp, perfect salute. My arm was steady, my hand flat, my fingers joined. It was a major saluting a sergeant, a direct acknowledgement of his new rank, but more importantly, a visual, irrefutable display of my own seniority and the authority he was now bound to respect. The sound of the salute was like a punch in the gut to the silence. My eyes held his for a long, agonizing beat. Then he broke. He quickly returned the salute, his movement a little clumsy, a little rushed. "Sergeant," I said, my voice low, clear, and utterly professional, "congratulations on your promotion. Carry on." I kept my voice flat, devoid of sisterly warmth, just pure, cold military protocol. I lowered my hand, turned on my heel, and marched back to my seat. I sat down just as deliberately as I had stood up. The colonel immediately jumped back in, his voice slightly rushed as he moved on to the next item on his agenda, trying to smooth over the emotional tidal wave that had just washed over the room. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur, but the air had changed. It was thick with unspoken tension. I was no longer the invisible, unwelcome relative. I was Major. My mother wouldn't meet my eye. My father looked lost. Alex, he avoided my gaze for the remainder of the ceremony, the proud, confident sergeant replaced by a pale, chastened junior NCO. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. After the official photos, Alex finally approached me. He didn't come alone. My parents ushered him over. "Alex has something he wants to say." My mother prompted nervously, like she was introducing a shy child. Alex looked at the ground, then finally up at me. "Thanks for the salute, Major," he mumbled, He didn't sound grateful. He sounded defeated. "It was protocol, Sergeant," I replied, keeping my tone perfectly neutral. My mother stepped in quickly. "Can't you two just be a family? I mean, you're both in now. That's wonderful." I looked at her, then back at Alex. "Mom, I've been in for 10 years. Alex is just starting. The gap isn't something a single ceremony can bridge. It was never about the military, it was about respect. And today, Alex had to show it to me, whether he meant to or not." Alex just stood there, speechless. He finally looked me in the eye and said, I guess I didn't realize. That was it." No apology for the 10 years of snide remarks, no recognition of my sacrifices, just a quiet admission of his sudden, stark realization of my professional standing. I just nodded, acknowledging his weak, half-hearted olive branch. I didn't stay long after that. I politely excused myself, gave my mother a kiss, shook my father's hand, and walked out. I haven't seen Alex since, but the dynamic has completely changed. My parents call me more often now, and they actually ask about my job, using my rank with a hesitant respect. Alex and I text occasionally. His messages are formal, sometimes asking for technical advice, always calling me Major instead of my name. The casual disrespect is gone. The wound isn't healed, but a fragile bridge of professional deference has been built. The silence in that room was the sound of a decade of condescension being erased. It was the sound of my brother and my parents finally understanding that my path was not a phase, but a serious career, one that had elevated me to a position where, even in a small ceremony, my rank superseded all family feuds. The respect I demanded wasn't given willingly, but it was earned over 10 years of hard work, and I will never regret standing up and claiming it that day. I learned a powerful lesson that day. Sometimes the greatest form of revenge is just quietly achieving what they never thought you could. Don't ever let anyone, especially family, minimize your ambitions or accomplishments. My brother's ceremony became the ceremony where I finally received the respect I was due. Like this video if you were on my side, if you think I was right to force the issue and claim my professional respect. Subscribe for more stories like this where the underdog finally gets their moment. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did I handle it perfectly, or was there another way? I'll see you all in the next story.